All right, what up, guys? So I have been kind of like trying to figure out how to make this build work, and I think I finally got into a functional state. It is a Crushing Hands Andariel's Visage build, so all the damage comes from the procs on the Andariel's Visage. So it's not going to be as good as like Quill Volley or something, but we're at a point in the season where like I'm just trying to find builds that function, and also trying to get ideas for next season and stuff, right? And with that being said, I'm going to go through the build over on max roll because my gear is far from optimal and some of it's even just flat out wrong for what's best in slot. But the point is I finally got the gear to get things functional. Um, Part of the problem is right now is people have quit playing the game, so there's not a lot of people selling. The people that are selling are RMTing, and that's just not how I roll. And if they're not RMTing, they still want 100 billion for everything, no matter how small and insignificant. I haven't been able to find gloves to try to do like a Quill Volley 150 because I just haven't done a 150 yet, and I was just going to do that for fun. Yeah, the gloves, I just want GA Max Life and GA Quill Volley, and I can't find any for less than 80 billion gold. So anyway, but let's just move over to max roll here. I'll actually show you guys what I mean by my gear is wrong. Nourishment is not supposed to be there. That should be like cooldown reduction. Nourishment isn't bad, but it should be cooldown reduction. And like I don't have like this should be like 13 stacks of max resolve. This should be all on max life. This should be all on max life. This should also be all on max life. Just that kind of thing. I use the same pants I use in my Crushing Hands build because this already has 13 maximum resolve stacks, but the thing that's like +4 basic skills doesn't need to be on there. This could afford to have more attack speed, critical strike chance on it, this stuff like that. This should be GA attack speed, but like to build this together. But anyway, let's just get over to max roll though. All right, let's get started with this. So obviously you need Andariel's Visage, preferably your GA and everything onto attack speed. Pretty much you're just trying to get max attack speed cap. I'm pretty sure if you have a GA on the gloves, you might not need it to be GA on here. I'm not entirely sure on that because that's a lot of math for me to figure out at this exact moment. But I don't personally have GA on the gloves or the helmet, but that's I think is going to be best in slot because life on hit doesn't really matter too much. It's nice for if you take a little bit of damage with nourishment, you'll get a little bit of damage, but not much. All stats would be good, but I think attack speed's the best one. And then socketed on here, we have Exile. So invoking a skill from another class will give us 20% life. That's what most Spiritborns are running. We have Barrier Gen Amethyst in right now, but I think we might be able to get rid of a couple of those and put in. I actually thought about putting. If I could get rid of 2 of them, and I could put emeralds in here and get critical strike damage for the build, but. Anyway, either way, if you don't have enough barrier gen, you want to put amethyst in. If you do have enough, then you could move this to here, and then you know. On Shrouded False Death, max life's the one that matters the most for Viscous Shield. Obviously, all Spiritborns use it. You do want a little bit of resource gen in this build. So the way that I have prioritized the build is Crushing Hands doesn't matter how much, like you just want to be able to cast it. You don't need to be at max resource. You don't need a certain amount of resource for this build. You just need enough resource to cast. So we have a lucky hit chance to restore resource and then a little bit of resource gen. Fist of Fate, you want GA lucky hit chance entirely. It's pretty much what makes the build function because it all functions on a lucky hit chance with Andariel's Visage. My lucky hit chance right now, I only have 2 of the crits on lucky hit chance, and it's at like 63% or something. On the leggings, armor, max life, and then you want barrier gen and max resolve stacks. Your third stat that's on the pants can kind of be whatever you want it to be. It could be resistance to all elements if you want it to be. It can be dexterity if you want it to be. This build doesn't focus on dex too much because you don't get poison damage on the helm from dex, so it doesn't really matter that much. I guess it matters for toxic skin, but it's not super duper important. What's another one you could put on there? I mean, it's pretty much just dex or resistance. Yeah, dex or resistance. On here, you want ranks to toxic skin, which I don't have on my build in the video that you guys saw at the beginning. I don't have that. I have resistance to all elements because it's just the boots that I was running on my my like Kepaleke crushing hands build. And then max life and dexterity. Again, dexterity doesn't matter too much, but it's just kind of there. You want the GA on here as well. I forgot to mark that. Barrier gen, movement speed. You move like a turtle, but it's fine. Then we have duelists on here to get our ferocity up for planes power and just attacking faster. Redirected force on the staff, and you want your GAs onto max life. Your tempering, you want critical strike damage and chance for crushing hands to extra hit. You definitely want the crushing hands to extra hit because you're just trying to hit as many times with it to proc Andariel's Visage. On the amulet, I have nourishment where cooldown reduction is, but I think cooldown reduction is going to be better because you're not running anything that's going to reset your cooldowns like you do on Kepaleke builds. You just kind of have to wait for everything. But the good thing is, at least is Ravager, as long as you're killing stuff, it just stays up. So, obviously, critical strike damage, max resolve stacks. On the rings, you want max life, critical strike damage, and chance to make enemies vulnerable on one of the rings. We don't want incarnate cooldown reduction. I don't think we actually have, what is it, Hunter cooldown reduction. Oh, I haven't even added the things on here. Very professional of me. We went critical strike damage and defensive skill cooldown reductions. Oh my god, English is hard. Okay, and then we have Plains Power on the first ring. And then we have Unrelenting on the second ring, which is super important for the build. This is the one that every third consecutive cast for Crushing Hands, you just smash 10 Crushing Hands around you. I'm not sure if the transfer Crushing Hands to extra hit counts with these. I think it would, but maybe not. But either way, you want this. And then I haven't added it on here. Let's see, we want 1 skull and 2 diamonds. I'm just totally a professional YouTuber here. Not really. I do this shit for fun. There we go. And then obviously you want the Jaguar skill and the Gorilla. This gives you more resolve and makes you constantly unstoppable. And then here with this Jaguar, I've been told that this works with Andariel's Visage. I don't see how, but I'm just going to trust everybody that says it does work. Anyway. Alright, we're going to go over to the skill tree though. Alright, over to the skill tree. This doesn't matter. We have 1 point in Crushing Hands, Enhanced Crushing Hands, which helps with our barrier a little bit. And then to Advantageous Crushing Hands, this doesn't really matter that much because Crushing Hands doing damage doesn't matter since all of our damage comes from Andariel's Visage. But enemies hit with both strikes of Crushing Hands being knocked down is nice. They're crowd controlled in some way, you know? Even though this will crowd control the hell out of them, but it's better than nothing. We do have points into Vigorous. Casting a core skill increases all vigor generation, so this helps with us gaining that vigor like I was talking about. Come down through here. There's pretty standard stuff. We actually have a bunch of points into Mirage so that we can evade and get a higher critical strike chance. Since we're not running Banished Lord's Talisman, we don't constantly critical strike, so you don't know. Unrestrained Power, of course. Apex, of course. I actually put more points into this. This gets some block damage reduction because why not? We are using a quarterstaff. I thought about using a glaive. It would cost me, but it would also give me 20% bonus lucky hit chance. But I don't think 20% matters that much considering it's additive. And that's just a lot of math that I don't want to do in my head. But I'm going to tell you right now, 20% isn't anything. It would make my crushing hands go from like 63 to 65. Something like that. Perseverance, get damage reduction with our resolve stacks. 1 point in an armored hide over here to reinforced armored hide. That's just pretty much used to get our max resolve, and it's nice to get unstoppable, but I don't put as many points into it as I can, like some other people. I completely skipped this, by the way. Points into toxic skin. While toxic skin is active, poisoning deals 25% of its damage as critical strikes to vulnerable enemies. And then Ravager, I actually use this because I still want to dash around, but I think technically this would be better because this would make our potent proc faster because Ravager spends stacks to strike elite enemies up to an additional 4 times, and each one of those strikes would help our potent go up faster. but it doesn't have the dash thing, and I want to go, you know. So, 1 point into anti-venom to get down to nourishment. This is the thing I have on my amulet that I shouldn't, but it just, whenever you heal, your poisoning damage is increased by X% for 3 seconds. It'd actually be really good, but we don't heal enough. Because it just says your healing is increased by 20% whenever you heal, but if I'm at max life all the time, I'm not going to heal to gain it. So that's why I don't use it, or I don't think it's the best. And then counterattack, down to reinforced counterattack, because the you want it to actually be active so that it passively increases critical strike damage to up to 30%. And it's, I guess it's nice to dodge, but that part doesn't matter that much. Points into resilient, obviously, because casting a guerrilla skill will grant us increased max life. And because of Viscous Shield, we will gain a bunch of damage with our max life. As many points as you can into potent. And this is what I was talking about with Ravager. Hitting enemies with Jaguar skills increases the damage they take from you by 0.8% up to 80%. So if you have 40 stacks and then it keeps hitting them a bunch of times, this just goes up faster. I don't think it's too important. And then Furnace, Jaguar skills. You gotta remember everything's a Jaguar skill because of the Spirit Hall as well. Jaguar skills deal 2% increased critical strike damage per stack of ferocity. I don't think it matters too much because I don't think it works with this too well. Damage increased by 30% of your critical strike bonus, because I don't think this will apply to that, but we might as well put it there anyway. Resolution and supremacy with the one in the middle here just to get to supremacy, because it doesn't matter what our maximum vigor is in this build. 5 points into the hunter, and then of course down to exalted hunter. And we just went over this. Noxious resonance. Your critical strikes cause your poisoning on enemy to burst, dealing 100% of the total poisoning instantly to them and 20% of it to surrounding enemies before removing the poisoning effect from the primary target. And it says the damage increased by 30%, multiplicative of your critical strike damage bonus. So that's why you stack a bunch of critical strike damage. So you poison them with Andariel's Visage, you crit them, and then you just fuck them up. All right, before I forget to, we use Rare, Ground Slam, Bastion, and then over here to Inspiration. This damage with core skills doesn't matter. This is like, he has like taunt an enemy directly. So we go with this one where anybody that's affected by his Ground Slam take less damage, or take more damage, and then you do more damage. So it's just like, you know. Over to the Paragon though. Lastly, we have Colossal to get our damage per resolve stack, but that's all we care about. We don't care about the gorilla damage, so just the and obviously grabbing the max life, but just like the getting the extra bonus, and that's all we care about. Coming up here, we have Fitness for critical strike damage, because you got to remember our key passive cares about how much critical strike damage we have. So we have Fitness and Spirit, and then grabbing as many as we can. You do need quite a bit. You need to be a fairly decent level to make this work. But again, this is just theory crafting. Pretty much, I'm putting this build out there and asking people their opinions and to see what they think. And you can, obviously you can play the build if you want to. It cleared a 101 pretty easy, which is not super impressive, but it did it. But anyway, I digress. Make sure to grab all the critical strike damage. Make sure to grab all the barrier gen. And you can get rid of this if you want to, if you're not quite there yet. This is actually what I don't have. We're gonna go over here to the left. Yeah. And then we have Bane and Revealing, because obviously we care about poison damage, and grabbing as many as we can. Grabbing some of this damage to crowd control, because technically you could just go boop, but why would you do that? Pretty much just grabbing the strength nodes and getting any of these that are like on the path, but not really prioritizing getting these because there's no space. But anyway, and coming through here, getting this attack speed, because of Andariel's Visage, you don't need to get this poison resistance. So we go here, and that also allows us to get to this lucky hit chance over here fairly easy. Coming up through here, and then getting to the revealing node, making sure again to grab all the max life, because Viscous Shield is bugged and they're not fixing it for the rest of the season, so have fun. Then we come up here to sapping, and we have ritual in here. I am debating whether Plains Power is best for this build, because none of the gear has plus Mystical Circle potency on it, but at the same time we have enough stacks of ferocity that I think it's the best in the slot. But maybe not. You guys let me know. I thought about putting Creeping Death there, but then what the hell would I put here that's going to make a difference? Canny, but that's just not that big of a deal. But anyway, Coming up through here, grabbing this resistance, making sure to grab this attack speed. We come here just to get the resource gen. We don't need maximum resource. We just want this resource generation to help with the keeping it up. I don't have that problem anyway. Grabbing all the max life and coming up here and grabbing the node. And then lastly, convergence. We have spirit in here, making sure to grab all the dex nodes, and then coming up through here, grabbing resistance to all elements, the max life coming through here. We actually care about the non-physical damage a little bit, so we grabbed those because that will affect the poisoning damage here. This attack speed and non-physical damage here, this resistance to all elements, and then grabbing the node. I think I covered everything with my rambles. You guys let me know if I missed something. I don't think I did. If you guys like the build, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that other stuff. But mainly, theory crafting. I want somebody to help me figure out anything that I might have missed. And again, the build in the video, as I showed you my gear, is actually not optimal at all, not even close. But close enough for me to say that this build at least functions. And I can post a video about it, because the main thing for me was getting the gear close enough to see it function and work properly. But anyway. Thank you for watching.